Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in today's recipe we'll be making beef stew, soupe viande in French. I'm gonna make it the Guinean way, even though there's various ways to make this recipe, but most of the time this is pretty much how I usually make mine with beef. So let's begin. So these will be the ingredient that we're going to use to make this recipe, and the full list of it will be listed in the description box, so don't forget to check that out. First, we're gonna start by frying our meat in about half a cup of vegetable oil on medium heat. So the meat I seasoned with black pepper, mustard, adobo powder, half an onion diced, salt, and Maggi cube. So we're gonna rinse well the meat we're seasoned in and put that water back into the pot. Mix it all together and let it boil for about 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, we're gonna add the eggplant, which I washed and cut in cube. The eggplant will allow the sauce to get, or the stew to get a little bit thicker. That's the reason why I'm adding it. If you want, you can add the eggplant when you're seasoning the meat. So we're gonna mix and let it cook for kind of 3 to 5 minutes. Now I'm adding a little bit of water, about 2 cups, because it was starting to burn and I wanted the meat to cook a little bit more, so I'm gonna cover it and let it boil for a few more minutes. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the vegetables. I'm using half a bell pepper and a half a red pepper because I'm gonna end up adding a little bit of knockoffs or green seasoning, so that's the reason why I'm using half, otherwise it will be the whole thing. Now I added the green onion and garlic, also the onion. All of them are chopped in big pieces because they're all going in the blender. So this is how it's supposed to look like pretty much. And the habanero pepper, if you want, you can use less of it because sometimes they're not spicy, they're not hot at all. So that's why I'm using more than usual. But definitely it's up to you. If you like spicy food, then use more or less if you don't. So this is how the mixture is supposed to look like after blending them all. So this is what I mentioned earlier. I added about 2 tablespoons of green seasoning. If you didn't have the green seasoning, like I said, you can use the whole bell pepper or red onion or red pepper and not use the green seasoning. Now I'm gonna cut the tomatoes. Doesn't matter how you cut them because they're all gonna get smashed in the stew. Since this is starting to kind of burn but not really, I don't know how to say that, like it was getting dry in there, so I ended up adding the mixture, the tomatoes and all those remaining stuff. So I'm gonna mix that in there and then add my tomato paste. Tomato paste is about 2 to 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. Again, it depends on the quantity or stew that you're making. If you're making a big batch like the one that I'm doing, then 2 to 3 tablespoons will be fine. Next, we're gonna season with black pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. So I had to give this a little shake because it was giving me a hard time, this onion powder. Next, salt and some Maggi cube. We're gonna give this a nice stir because it was starting to burn a little bit, so we're gonna do that quickly and go ahead and add the water. The water, I'm adding about 1.7 liter of water. So this definitely depends on the quantity of stew that you're making. So measure the water depending on that. We're gonna give it a quick stir and let it boil. So once the oil is starting to come up on the surface, we're gonna go ahead and add our vegetables. I'm adding potatoes, carrots, then 1 habanero pepper. If you do have more vegetables that you wanna add, for example, cabbage, butternut squash, yucca, feel free to add them. But those will be added at a different time because some of them take a longer time to cook, especially the yucca. So be mindful of that. So we're gonna mix this a little bit, then let it cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. We're gonna reduce the heat, cover it, and let it cook for a few more minutes. And don't forget to stir it from time to time to avoid it to get burned. So now after the 10 minutes, once the oil came out on the surface, the water is reduced. What we're gonna do will be to check our vegetables. So I'm gonna start with the potatoes, and I believe this one is fine. Yep. Next will be the carrots, because these are the only 2 vegetables that I added. So, and they don't even take longer time to cook. So, if you need to add more seasoning, feel free to adjust the seasoning at this time too. And if you want your stew to be thicker than this, let it boil for a few more minutes. Or if the vegetable need to cook a little bit more, feel free to continue the cooking time. So this is pretty much how I usually make my beef stew with vegetables. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, turn that notification bell so you won't miss any video of me. And I see you guys on my next one. Take care.